News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth, darkoakmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian, hoping that this day won't come undone, as it is rife with many days, but most importantly for you, Joe, happy Duran Duran Appreciation Day.
Okay, now how about that? I can't believe. Now this sounds like their marketing team got involved and pulled some strings.
Was her name Rio?
Yeah, maybe.
Easily. Easily.
Allan, I am an unapologetic fan of Duran Duran, and I'm going to say this. Back in the day, growing up in the 80s, it wasn't cool for guys to like Duran Duran. They said it was like a girls band, and I didn't care. Those guys sounded great, man. So.
Is that kind of like how in the 70s people laughed at you for liking Styx?
No, Styx was okay. You could like Styx,
It
right,
depends
Allan?
on which album.
Yeah.
You have to be careful. Yeah, it depends on which album.
Max, you won't believe. I went to a Duran Duran concert in Chicago in the I guess probably right at the height of their popularity. It was like 80% girls there, and and I'm an 18-year-old. I wasn't complaining. It was great, man.
You had to,
Was it girls and their boyfriends?
I don't know, but it was a lot of fun.
No. I'm gonna plead completely innocent to most of the Duran Duran career, but I will say, hey. They did a theme song for James Bond.
They're talented. They're very talented musicians.
Their music has held up, and it's still popular on YouTube and venues like that.
All right. Well, if you're a child of the 80s like me and you're out there, this is absolutely... Is this international, Max? It should be.
It's just Appreciation Day in general. Yeah. So Duran Duran's love knows no borders.
Okay, that's on the table. Go ahead.
I'm going to throw in one more thing because I'm going to tie them directly into Tool Talk here.
That's going to be a try.
Okay.
No, it's actually pretty simple. Because of the birth of, they were an MTV band.
Oh, yeah.
They were a visual experience.
Mm-hmm.
And because of bands like them, furniture changed and how you laid out your living room and the listening room and big sound rooms of the 80s. And, we had, orchestration and all that stuff back in the 80s and 90s for classical music and your real audiophiles. Well, now with the MTV generation, when that came bursting in, now it became bigger televisions, TVs with better sound. They actually had a lot to do with redecorating your house.
Gosh, not to beat this into the ground. They also changed the motif of what concerts used to be. You didn't have big screens at a concert until they came along. All right, well, one more, Max. We got to...
I know this is a riveting topic, but can I at least share with you some of the other holidays as well that just that I thought you guys would get a kick out of it?
Okay.
I wanted to wish you all a very happy Garage Sale Day and International Biodiesel Day.
You got to be kidding me, Max.
Garage sales?
No.
Yeah.
Garage sale is on my notes right here, Allan. I had no idea it was garage sale. We were just about to. Okay, unbelievable.
I don't need to read your mind. I didn't read your show notes, by the way.
What a serendipitous thing. All right, well, let's get into it. Boy, this is 2 weeks in a row we've talked beyond the bumper music, and we haven't even given out the phone number. But if you want to get involved with any of these riveting topics, you can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling hotline at 901-683-0989.
You're gonna have to beat the deuce like last week.
Yeah, good luck trying to get a better, remember you can send in pictures. I'm not promising we'll post them all because I'm never posting. I still have to wash my eyes out from that picture Deuce sent us about the
I want to remember that for the rest of my life.
Dog. Anyway,
you made a poster out of it. It's all right.
And you can go to our Facebook page, the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page, and like the page and share the page. But you're gonna have to wait a few minutes till I make some posts. I'm a little behind, Allan. I haven't posted, but there's a lot to post, and we're gonna do that shortly. But one of those things that's gonna get posted is our great moments in building history topic, which is the Bauhaus. Not to be confused with the 80s goth band fronted by Peter Murphy. But,
hey, that's pretty relevant to Duran Duran Day, I guess.
But they totally stole it, yeah. But anyway, the Bauhaus is an interesting institution. Allan, what do you do? It came about at a very interesting period in history for Germany. It also, what do you do when you want to create a space that's designed to inspire creativity? You don't just slap anything up. It's gotta have certain features. That
With-
a lot of thought went into things like even where is the sun going to rise in position of our windows and things like that. So,
Well, yeah, and in relation to most of my friends, how fireproof would it be?
right, exactly. Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. It's probably going to be more about what it inspired
Yes.
rather than just the building itself. So, Allan, shopping with tunnel vision. I had a very interesting experience buying a rug with my wife a week or two ago, and it really was just a reminder of the proper way to go shopping for something. I mean, hours of whatever, and anyway. So we're going to talk about that. I have a Ask Allan question about burned out motors.
Cool.
And I hope you can help me because whether you can help me or not, but it would be good to know. It's more of solving a mystery for me. This is interesting. In Allan's Week in Review, he said, "Where do home builders bury their dead?"
Oh, man.
An oddly relevant topic because if you read the books Allan writes, then that's
Jimmy Hoffa.
that's not far off the mark. I've got more things here, and I'm not gonna tease them because you know how that works, Allan. But and fair warning, everybody. The other day I bit the back of my tongue really bad, and every now and again I get this. If you
Get that
say the
little
wrong
twinge,
word, you get this stabbing pain. So if I shout out in agony, just keep in mind it's just because I bit my tongue again. But Max, I cannot believe this because I wanted to hit you guys cold, and I also wanted to throw this out to our listeners if they're interested. But my show notes say right here, Max, the institution of the garage sale. It occurred to me, Allan, do we ever talk about garage sales on Tool Talk?
I actually have a little bit of history on the origins of the garage sale.
All right, well, go ahead. Steal my thunder, but go ahead. No,
Are you sure?
I really wanted to round table it. No, that's fine because garage sales, I think that totally is relevant to home improvement and purging and everything else. But go ahead, Max. I didn't know there was a history.
So let's go to the 16th century, where rummage sales of unclaimed and defective ship cargo took place.
Yep.
And then not only that, but
Wait. Defective. So the rats got into the whatever and chewed a hole through the canvas,
or it got lost at the dock. Yeah.
Fast forward to the 1890s when they were still known as garage rummage sales, and they were held in community almost every week and everything. Mostly hosted by churches and charitable organizations with to generate money for their organizations and everything. But then you fast forward.
Hold on, Max. You're flying through. Are these sales that you bring all your stuff to the church? Okay, that's a little different than a garage sale in terms of
not really
that I think.
No, not really.
I think so. I think that's more of like what you see with these consignment stores and stuff. But go ahead.
That's where we zoom into the 50s and 60s, where you get a little bit more of the garage sale that we know today.
Okay.
And that's about it.
Okay.
Well, remember, prior to the Eisenhower project, we didn't have a lot of garages.
Okay, well, you can call them a yard sale. I mean, we say garage sale, but most of these take place in a yard. They haul out their stuff to the front yard.
If you lived in the Northeast, you didn't have a yard either. You lived in housing.
All right, you guys you're nitpicking. Basically, it's a sale on your property. Basically,
well, it's
versus hauling it somewhere and having
it
a
is
big
the getting rid of the junk in your possession is what it is.
Well, there's something about a garage sale. Okay, Allan, kids today won't relate. Max, you could never relate to this, but you remember when the ice cream truck would drive by your neighborhood in July?
Yes.
It didn't matter. You weren't even thinking about ice cream, and as soon as you heard that little ringing, you had to have an ice cream cone.
You suddenly became Pavlov's dog.
And it was like that. It was like the Pied Piper.
Mm-hmm.
All the kids come running, and I mean, it was a great business model. But there's something about a garage sale that I think is similar. I was driving by one this morning, and there was a mob of people. And this is a little side street. This wasn't even on a busy road or anything.
All right. We have always had a fascination with being the hunter-gatherer.
Boom. See, I knew you'd go primal. I think there's something to... No, you're not kidding, Allan, because... people will get there at 5:30 in the morning to be the first ones.
I have, there's a couple of stores around the country that are basically the world's biggest garage sales.
Oh, yeah.
And you never know what they're going to have in stock. It's whatever it is came in on the containers. It goes out in the bins. It goes out on the floor. And there's even a store out in the Northeast, I believe it was up in New York, that they didn't even put prices on them. They put colored stickers.
Oh, right.
And
that was
the
a
colored
code?
sticker prices would keep going down during the day. So, it was just, it was just the experience of rifling through and looking for something that had value to you.
Well, you think there's a whole lot of factors, because I've gone to garage sales where you get like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen one of these since I was a kid in the 70s. And even though you probably don't really need it, and then you ask them how much is it, and they go, oh, you can have it for $2 or something. And
Yeah, give me a couple
you'd
of
have paid
bucks.
them $100 probably for it or something.
But I recognize that saw as having come from, XYZ company built in 1905.
Right.
And you want $4 for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking it home.
Can I put something on the text line out there for the audience?
Sure.
What's the most valuable thing that you've gotten at a low price and everything at a garage sale? Some people have gotten like an Andy Warhol painting accidentally.
Yes.
And so
Oh, yeah.
I put that out to the panel. I don't care where you're from. Well, because I'd be curious to see where everybody's from who's listening to us.
Oh, yeah. I think this is a universal topic. I don't know. We've been remiss, Alan. How is it in all these years we haven't leaned heavy into garage sales?
Nobody's asked us a question about a garage sale.
All right. Well, we're going to get into it, too. And we got a lot more coming up here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I wonder if they're fraternal or identical tools.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Had to resurrect that from the dead.
Yeah, I thought we burned that one, Alan.
No, I found it again at a garage sale.
Okay. And we'll come back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. Touche, Max. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. There's a lot on the table. There's two holidays of note that we're focusing in on. Duran Duran Appreciation Day, as we say. I mean, very talented guys, and they're still going. I mean, how many bands are still going 40 some odd years later? Mostly they
And actually seem to like each other.
Yeah, they're actually friends. They have, so that's a rarity in itself, and still they're still making new albums. So good for them. And of course, what we've been discussing before the break, which is Garage Sale Day. I don't know if it's international or whatever, but I really think there is it's an institution. And as Allan indicated, I don't know, it probably goes way back to our primal instincts of hunting, gathering, fighting, tooth and claw to get what's ours or whatever. But there's something addictive about a garage sale. Like you can't. There's a certain type of personality, Allan. I know the type, and they cannot pass one up. If you drive by, they're gonna even if they weren't even thinking about it, they're gonna veer off and they're gonna go in there and shop. So
it's modern day treasure hunting.
Exactly.
If you really want to think about it, you're missing, there's just weird stuff you run into. Let's say you've got furniture from the 50s and 60s. All right, well, you might be missing that one handle. And of course, it's not for sale anymore.
Yeah.
So you can't go down to the big box store and get the same handle. So you end up haunting, furniture auctions, garage sales, and stuff like that, because that's probably your best chance of running into another cabinet that had that exact same hardware on it. And, do you just need the hardware? And now you're looking at, hey, I got a brand new cabinet I get to add to my collection.
Right.
The other thing is the amount of bric-a-brac that people brought back from around the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You get international items.
You just get all kinds of little strange things that accumulate. Now, there's even entire stores, because I will pick on the Habitat for Humanity's Restore.
Oh, I've heard that's a treasure house.
If you haven't been to it, you need to, because it's one of those, you never know what came in the door. You never know how much of it they're going to have, or if it's ever going to reappear.
And get it now, because it won't be here tomorrow. So
the last time I was there, it was very funny. I literally had a flashback, because they had, from the 70s and 80s, back when I was, a budding little, I'm going to go play in the kitchen, they actually had the original chrome citrus presses.
Oh, those are cool looking.
You're talking about a piece of art.
Yeah.
And, oh my goodness.
Go ahead, man.
We got 2 texts on the text line, by the way, related to this garage sale discussing it.
Talk to me.
Of course, Agent 732.
Yeah.
Of
All right.
course.
Finally had his coffee.
I
Okay.
found several old tools in a bag of English pennies that had a couple of King George pennies.
Ooh, awesome.
So I thought
I don't
that
know
was
what
pretty
that
cool.
means, King George, other than I guess there's
That's
something.
King George, like
No, but I mean, are
Revolutionary
they-
War.
Oh, they're that old.
Like King George. Yes.
Okay, that's pretty cool, yeah.
That is amazing.
Very cool.
The second
Okay.
one is from Alex, all the way from Ohio. Says, I'm from Ohio, and garage sale season would come around, and everyone would have them the same week. The Amish women love them. They'd have vans drive them around house to house. They'd call the vans Yoder toters.
Wait a minute now. Okay, I don't want to get in trouble here, but I thought the Amish don't use vans. Are they? Whatever.
Well,
Okay.
they would find a way.
Okay.
And then
That's when you have that non-member of the church friend that has a van.
Wait, that's Alex.
Because I have a truck. Because
Yes.
believe me, you become very popular.
and don't
Hold on.
times of the year.
Now we finally got a test subject here. Alex, text us back and let us know if you're listening through the app or how you're listening. I mean, it's live,
awesome.
so I suppose, but that's cool. So Alex is in Ohio.
Yeah, and the word Yoder, don't worry, isn't a bad term. It's a shortened form of the extended word name Theodore, which means gifts of God.
Okay.
Because a Yoder is a gift.
I wish I did more research on this because I thought there's a neighborhood in Cordova.
They said they don't drive them, by the way.
Okay. Oh, okay. Cool. Thanks, Alex. But I thought there was a neighborhood here. It's like one of the biggest neighborhoods. One of the biggest garage sales in the region. Literally everybody has a sale the same
That's
day.
over off
It's
of
planned.
Sanga in the Cordova area.
How have I missed that? They said it's
Oh my gosh,
insane.
it's absolutely massive. It takes up, it messes up traffic big time all day.
Okay.
But it's a massive, everybody, having a great time with a massive garage sale.
Yeah, no, there is something. There's something exciting about a garage sale. I'll tell you one more thing, just a final note for me. But as listeners know, I've discussed this before. I have a pretty good sized yard, and I live on a busy corner. So we regularly get people that come to the house, especially during like election season, and they ask if they can put signs in our yard and everything. And I usually kind of say no because then it opens a whole floodgate.
Right.
The group that I don't mind when they put signs in our yard is anybody having a garage sale.
Well, there
Like,
you
go
go.
for it. Knock yourself out because I just think it's a good institution and it's a great way to purge. Let's face it. There's nothing quicker than to clean your house out and just put all your stuff in the front yard. It'll be gone.
Well,
you know?
it's been in your house. You do have some connection to it. And just the thought of just putting it in the trash
right.
is just abhorrent to many people.
Yeah.
Which is why so much stuff accumulates over the years. You just don't get rid of it.
You were asking Alex the test subject.
Yeah.
He said first of all, he's related to the Yoders.
Oh, that's awesome.
Second of all, he says he's listening here in Hernando on the radio. Been down here for 7 years or so.
Oh,
My question,
okay.
though, Alex, is, if you're related to the Yoders, why are you using a radio?
Oh, okay. Wait, I don't know we're really steering into dangerous water. So I don't
know,
think
I'm
that's.
just teasing ya.
I don't think that's okay. Whatever. Who knows? But Alex,
He's
thanks
not
for
that
listening.
closely related. It's okay. There
Okay.
you go.
I used to live in Hernando. So, but
Very pretty
I'm-
city. They got beautiful downtown.
Yeah,
Very beautiful.
It's much bigger than it was when I lived there. There was
yeah.
So, but okay, so that's on the table, and that's throughout the day. If you've got anything, any thoughts about garage sales, or if you've come across a treasure, if you bought that Superman #1 comic for $5, yeah, right. But, which happens? Let's face it,
If family doesn't know and starts cleaning stuff out, and the rare piece of artwork has occasionally cropped up because family just didn't know.
Yeah, the Antiques Roadshow, they talk about that all the time. Somebody's like, I got this for $20 at a yard sale, and now it's worth $50,000.
Yeah, we found this in Granny's attic. We had no idea it was from 1650.
Right. Yep. So that's out on the table. And, of course, if you've got any good feelings about Duran Duran, feel free to weigh in. If you've ever seen him in concert, like I have, I saw they did a great show at the Botanic Gardens about 8 years ago. That was awesome. Anyway, but let's shift gears. I've got an Ask Allan question. I don't think I gave you any warning on that, Max. I don't even know if there's any bumper music for that. But, Allan, I was thinking about something. Now, granted, I have I don't know if you want to use the word evolved. There's a lot more tools in my arsenal now that I do use the cordless. I have the interchangeable cordless tools, but there are still this applies to cordless, but it mostly applies to plug-in tools. But I've had this is to do with the motor in your tool. Okay, now this has happened to my little bench table saw. This has happened to my circular saw. And this absolutely happened to Old Blue, my drill, and other tools. But so table saw is perfect example. I'll be ripping something, folks, if that means you're cutting with the grain, and all of a sudden, usually it happens if the piece is slightly thicker than normal, and all of a sudden it just stops.
Right,
the blade just dies. I take the wood out. I reset it. I unplug it. Now there is a little reset button too. I think that's if the motor resists or something. And I'm like, well, I finally killed my bench saw, whatever. And then I do something like I might just kind of tap it with a mallet or something,
right? Or
I just let it sit for 4 or 5 hours, and then it works perfectly again.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to throw a few scenarios, and I want you to explain what's going on. So that's one. Right. I've had times where
the word is called impedance.
Okay, because that's what I want to know what happens. Yep. Second one, like Old Blue was textbook on this.
Yes,
and there were about 8 or 10 times I thought I had finally killed Old Blue, and I hadn't. But I might be using Old Blue to do a bunch of drilling or something, and all of a sudden he would just stop working, and I said, you know what? It's pretty hot out today. Maybe it overheated, and I'd stick him in the freezer. I say him. I'm talking about a drill, folks. But
I know. We all
take it out. An hour later,
tools.
It works perfect. So I guess I'm wondering, how is it that a motor can just be seemingly dead, throw in the towel, and all of a sudden you do something, or you just wait and it works, or you tap it with something. So you use the word impedance because I'm very curious.
Yes. Yes. Well, what we're getting into there, and I'm going to pick on one of my parents' old Mazda vehicles. And it would run
because they have an unusual engine in Mazda.
Oh yeah, this was an old rotary engine, and this was way back in the day. And periodically, it wouldn't start.
Right.
So you went and opened up the hood. You reached around, and there was a little solenoid cover underneath there, and you would whack it with something metal 2 or 3 times.
Really?
And the car would start, and off you would run for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, that's the old trick of hitting the starter. Yeah, I've had to do that.
Banging on stuff and knocking on stuff. The old days of give it a good whack. They did exist, and, when we come back, we'll dive a little deeper into why that worked and why it really wasn't the best of ideas.
Yeah, because I used to do this stuff instinctually, but I was thinking, there's no science behind it. It was just strictly gut instinct.
Yeah, just give it a good whack and let's see what happens.
There you go. All right, well, we'll continue the drama when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
You may feel a slight sighing.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Yeah, no anesthesia on this show, that's for sure. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. Like we've been hearing from some of our listeners today, Alex and Agent 732. And if you do want to call or text us, don't wait like 30 seconds before the show's over, like some of our listeners do, right, Max? Don't you have a stale message from last week?
Yes, we got one from our good old buddy Norman.
What
he
did
was
Norman
following
say?
Up with regards to, well, do you want to give a little bit of exposition with regards to our Deuce text?
I don't know, man. That expositioned all over the floor. It was pretty bad, but, go ahead. What did he say?
All right. He said, Norman here, so much talking and laughing about this picture you're not going to post. Now you're going to have to make me search Facebook to see if Deuce posted it there.
Yeah, Deuce, if you're listening, I don't know if you want to share your Facebook feed.
No, you're sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah, you're becoming sort of the local celebrity here, but I bet well, I hope he did. I hope he had enough class not to post that picture.
No, I hope he didn't.
I'm sure it's posted.
Okay, well,
because I'm sure he is not the only person it's happened to.
Yeah, and just so so we're not leaving you in the dark. If you missed last week's show, basically, Deuce sent us physical evidence of what happens when your dog leaves a big mess on the floor, if you know what I'm saying, and the Roomba tries to clean it up.
iRobot takes it on. Yep.
I never thought of that. It was funny what a revelation that was. I told my wife about it, and she said, it makes sense, and I'm sure it's happened numerous times, but most people have enough class not to send you a picture of it.
Well, they even all right, when the robots began mapping later in their careers, like in just the last couple of years, there is even an entire commercial about the little floor robot going around
avoiding.
that.
Yeah.
So it's
sticking
not
a flag
new.
in it.
Yeah,
so,
it's not new.
Okay. All right. Let's move it along. People are eating their breakfast. But we appreciate all of our texters and keep them coming in. And especially if you're a Duran Duran fan like myself, because today is Duran Duran Appreciation Day.
Please text us any of one of your favorite songs. I know it has nothing to do with home improvement, but might as well chum the water.
What's your favorite song?
Come Undone.
Okay. Okay. That's a great one too. I'll throw mine out there because I do have one that comes to mind. I don't know if our buddy Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration is a Duran Duran fan. I don't know. I mean, he's more of a hard rock. He even likes a little taste of country music and
I was
stuff.
about to say, I peg him as a country guy.
Oh, he's got a pretty wide palette. Larry Brown, when you get into a good conversation with him, one of the reasons to call Brown Refrigeration is the guy's very he's got a blue collar sensibility, but he's also very sophisticated. He knows things, and he's very techy, but he doesn't brag about it. He just
plays his cards close to the vest.
He is. He's a very dynamic personality, and that's probably why he's created such a great business model. The business culture over at Brown Refrigeration is really outstanding. They're an institution here in the Mid-South. We've grown to. I mean, we're getting close to the 50-year mark of Brown Refrigeration, and it's important with your HVAC company to be there when you need them, to be that rock solid foundation, because this is a relationship. It isn't just making your purchase and saying, okay, I'll see you in 20 years when I need another one. This is a regular ongoing situation of maintenance. And it's not a lot of maintenance. It's mostly preventative. And it's mostly it's kind of like when you go to the doctor for a checkup. It's really all it is, because your HVAC system is one of the most important features of your home. It's always important to be working with the latest technology because it's always evolving. It's always getting more efficient. And also, there are changes. Sometimes there's changes to like the refrigerant that gets used in your HVAC system. And so that has to be updated. But also, the HVAC system, when running properly, is one of those things that actually will pay for itself in the long term. And Brown Refrigeration uses Train products. They use the Remy Halo system, which is one of the most revolutionary, great ideas as far as clean air. And the air has got to be so much cleaner these days, Allan, than it was 30 years ago. I know there's less smoke in the air.
Oh yeah, thank goodness.
But thanks to this technology, but this is precisely calibrated technology, and that's why you need an expert. And there's nobody better than Brown Refrigeration, and they also have great financing as well. We love Brown Refrigeration, and they answer their phones. So get in touch with them. You can call them directly at 901-362-1881 or go to brownref.com, and also visit their Facebook page. Very active on Facebook, and you'll be very pleasantly surprised with some of the things that they're getting into. So, all right, well, Allan, before the break, you were explaining. Okay, we've heard the term burning out a motor. I was asking you a question because I don't know. I in the past, and even if I'm being honest, even today, sometimes a motor will lock up, or or maybe smoke starts coming out, or whatever. It stops working. Well, when you're on a job site, you need it. Like, I'm not going to go out and just stop what I'm doing and go buy a new bench saw in the middle of a workday or whatever. Especially if I think maybe there's still a chance, but. When a motor, I've heard the term burning it out or locking up, and I guess I'm wondering what actually happens, because in the past I've literally tapped it with a hammer and it starts working again, or something. So I'm wondering.
Well, there's a lot going on here. All right, so anytime you're moving power, we'll start at alternating current.
Okay.
So we'll talk about old blue. So you plugged him into the wall and you have alternating current. Well, alternating current comes with impedance, which is and please, electricians, don't barbecue me on this too bad.
Okay.
But it is just basically the resistance that you get pushing the electrons down the wire.
Okay.
Now, the quality and quantity of the wire has a lot to do with the resistance, and the temperature of the wire can also have something to do with it. So as you heat things up, because when you begin using a tool, you've got resistance, air pressure, the heat generated by the moving parts of the tool. And keep in mind, you're also, like when you're talking about your saw, the material you're working against is working against you.
Yeah, when you're trying to rip a 2x8 versus like a
Exactly.
little 3/4 inch piece or something.
And generally, most tools are simply air-cooled. They got little slots in them, and this is why you feel all that heat coming out of them. Now,
quick tip: if you're using your drill, don't put your hand over the vents to get a better grip, because you need to let that thing breathe.
It needs to breathe, and you don't need to scorch your hand.
Yeah.
So with all of these things going on, a lot depends on what stopped.
Oh, because not everything is stopping. Maybe
Not
one
everything
thing
is even or together, and in almost all modern tools, there's some type of safety built into it.
Well, that's what I wonder, because like I said, my bench saw has a reset button. Literally, you push the button and.
Well, yeah.
Although that doesn't always work. But
Well, it hasn't cooled off enough, or whatever has hung up. So there are a lot of little moving parts in there, and as they get hot, they begin expanding. Well, they might get caught together.
Because you got a motor spinning. I'm picturing the thing spinning, and there's the little sparks or whatever. So you're saying it expands, and then.
Well, yeah, the moving metal parts in there are getting hot, and metal expands, so they could catch together. Well, this is why in your car it's so important that you keep oil in it. Because you don't want the little parts to weld themselves together because of the heat generated in the engine. So with an air-cooled tool, they're really not designed to be run like a robot 12 straight hours or to the end of the battery.
Right.
Or, they're really not designed to put forth that much effort over that length of time. They're really designed for kind of short burst of activity.
Okay, but I got a question, and you said it yourself, and I know people know this that work on cars. Sometimes if you have a starter motor that's going out and maybe you're stuck and you got to get the car started, you tap it with a hammer or something.
Whack it a couple of times, and whatever little metal pieces might have grabbed each other, the vibration may make them let go.
Is that what's going on?
And voila, now they're spinning and working again.
Okay, so that's a different problem. That's different than the overheating.
It's all the same problem. It's just what actually got tied up in there. Almost all of your tools have some kind of copper coil in them.
Okay.
And that gets dirty, and things begin to heat up, and
all right.
Sometimes it needs to cool down so it lets the electricity through.
All right, we'll have a few parting thoughts with that, and then we're going to find out what Allan did this week.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan. News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Oh, no, we're back on the air, Allan. Okay, and welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorgerson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. I've also updated the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. I made a couple posts. I posted about our great moments in building history, which is it's a very influential institution in this world, the Bauhaus, and we'll explain what that is. It's like I said, not to be confused with that great 80s goth band fronted by Peter Murphy. But also, I posted our must-have item of the week, which looks very innocent. It looks very harmless. It's not as harmless as you would think, especially on your thumbs and stuff out. But it's super useful, and so we were talking about that. In a minute, we're going to find out what Allan did this week. But basically, just to wrap up our thoughts here, we were talking. I was asking him about why motors lock up, and in our power tools. And then I guess my bigger question, Allan, is for the average person out there, if the motor locks up on like their drill or some tool, it doesn't mean it's necessarily lost. But what is it? What is something they should maybe look for? That I guess what I'm wondering is, you don't want to make a habit of whacking the side of the thing or sticking it in the freezer like I did. At some point,
It's more about the work pacing.
Okay. Oh, pace it out. Don't.
All right, so we got to drill, 300 holes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's drill 100 holes, and let's go get a sip of water. So while you went and rehydrated, the tool cooled off, and it's ready to perform its work at a sustained rate, not a maximum rate.
Okay, pace it out. This thing is not okay.
Because and again, the trick is it getting hot? Is your performance beginning to fail? Are you hearing weird sounds?
Right.
Stop.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the biggest thing.
Okay.
Give it a chance.
All right. Well, I think that's good advice. And also just, at some point too, though, it kind of became a little running game with me, is like, how long is this going to keep going? Old Blue's a perfect example. I thought that, 10 years into its career, it was dead. And man, I got another 10 years out of it. So
Sometimes these things will hang tough.
okay. All right. Well, speaking of hanging tough, here we go.
Oh, the humanity.
I hope you hung tough this week, Allan. So I just wonder how many people, here's what I'm imagining, Max. You really are kind of a sadistic person. I'm picturing this nice couple. They just turned their radio on. They're at their table eating breakfast with their coffee cup and everything. And all of a sudden he plays that soundbite. And how many of them it goes flying out of their hand? You give them it's very jolting.
Well, welcome to some of the jobs I do. It's
okay.
Are there goats on there too that scream?
Yeah, and that's
there have been on occasion. There really has.
Your tales kind of remind me a little bit of Commander McBragg from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
You're finally getting there, Max.
Quite.
Commander McBragg is Allan's spirit cartoon. So okay, no, but Allan, you said, where do home builders bury their dead?
Oh my gosh!
I was curious about that intriguing title.
All right, there are 2 times a year when a lot of landscaping and stuff starts to happen.
Okay.
So, welcome to the theme. My theme for the week has been
all you've
dirt.
been talking about is landscaping for
dirt,
3 weeks.
Dirt. Of a couple of houses, of some people moved in, there was zero landscaping. So, you look at it, it's just rough. And curb appeal can add, for a relatively low investment, a huge punch to your property value.
Well, it just makes you feel better, too, when you pull up to your house and
how your business looks, how your house looks, and you don't have to build things that are high maintenance. However, let's dive into this. So they've decided they want to put in some nice little encores.
Who's they? Who are you talking about this week?
This is my little client at their house.
Okay, so this is a home, not a.
And well, I got one of each.
Okay.
They had the exact same problem in the exact same place. So here we go. We line up the little piece of the wall. Kind of the window is nice and centered in it. So it's got a nice appeal, but it needs something. It needs a little something. And what they wanted to do was the encore azaleas, which bloom in the fall. All right. So we're getting ready to put some color in. First chop with the shovel. Do you hear that happy sound of grass cutting, or do you hear that horrible sound of leftover concrete and mortar?
Nothing's more irritating when you're digging and you hit like a tree root, or you hit a piece of brick or a concrete.
And case in point, this is not a terribly old house. This is the second owner. And the first owner really didn't do much with it. I don't think they lived there very much. So second owner comes in and they want to do some stuff. And wow, whoever did the brickwork on this house did not bother cleaning up their work site.
Just chuck it over there, Bob.
They just dumped it right there, covered it with sod, and said, there you go. You can't see it anymore. Because we dug up brick parts, mortar. I literally have a notched shovel now.
Oh yeah.
from trying to get through this. And you're just so unnecessary.
May I
to have
say
to dig through
something?
that
Because
stuff.
the extent of the digging that I do is because I'm not a planter, so I mean I'm not a garden person or anything. However, I do build fences, I build
Yes.
decks and things, and I have to dig footings and dig post holes. And man, it's not just that you just dented your shovel or whatever your post hole digger. It's the mystery element. It's kind of like, when your power goes out, not knowing whether it's going to be out for 15 minutes or 3 days. That's the part of digging this stuff because you're like, okay, how big is this? And it's always some surprise. It's like, okay, how did they bury the front end of this car engine or something? It's like, it becomes a treasure hunt at some point,
really
but it also
becomes kind of a reverse pirate treasure because you got to get this junk out of the way.
Yeah.
Because here I'm trying to put these nice little bushes in that are going to look so good next month, but you got to get
the
trash out of the hole so you can actually put dirt in it and have a cute little plant. So there was a lot of that. And then over at a commercial building, pretty much the exact same thing, except they wanted to put in a lot of small plants. So I'm out there with the drill-powered auger. We were talking about burning out your drill earlier.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
those
out there
augers.
with one of my favorite tools all fall long is a drill auger. And if you've never discovered one of these or you've seen them at the garden center and just thought, I don't care. I'm not putting bulbs in the ground. You are missing out on an amazing tool.
How big of a diameter are we talking about? I think people know what they look. They look like a big, over-exaggerated drill bit.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, they look kind of like a crazy drill bit. They're about 2 inches, 3 inches across.
Oh, that makes a difference, though.
But I've got like 150 plants to get in the round. I am not going to sit there with my dinky little shovel and try to cut a hole 150 times. I'm going to put this bad boy on my drill, slap that big old battery on it, and we're gonna do a little destruction.
Right.
Except for rear clank, rear crunch, rear crack. And you start finding bungee cords, you find glass, you find little pieces of electrical cord, and it's just the cast off junk of people doing work in that area that they didn't police up.
Okay.
It just, oh my gosh, makes your life miserable.
Okay, now, Allan, as I say, I'm no landscaper, but a question emerges here. Okay, let's just suppose you've got your bed. The bed's 30 feet and by 10 feet or something. And you've already got your plans. I'm going to plant this type of bush.
Yep.
I'm going to plant this.
Right,
Well,
right.
What if you start digging and 4 inches down is just a layer of brick and garbage and gravel? Well, could that change? Don't certain plants need a certain amount of room for their roots and things like that? And do you maybe start digging first? Because you can't assume anything. Like you said, I mean, you start digging in a yard, you don't know what's left there by the builders or something. So I would just wonder. I'm picturing you've got your whole pallet full of all the plants you want to put on there, and suddenly it's not going to work because or it means you've got to dig all this stuff out and then add soil or something. What a pain, man. So I'm glad I don't do what you do.
Well, knowing the history of your yard.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
you don't know what you might find a spaceship under there. So.
You're liable to find, anything from Jimmy Hoffa to a Cadillac.
Exactly.
So, as you do the work around your yard, just be aware that sometimes there is a little extra cleanup that you're going to have to get into. And I know it's a pain, but be ready to do it. Because I always bring like the extra 55-gallon, super heavy duty trash bag with me anytime I'm working in the outside world, because you just don't know what you're going to hit. But my goodness, especially around commercial buildings, the amount of glass that you find is
glass
just
is interesting.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm working on a wall that didn't even have a window.
Yeah.
And
How'd this get
I'm
here?
popping up, 2 or 3 inch pieces of window pane, and you're just like, what did y'all do? Don't do this.
Yeah.
As for the person getting ready to put in the fall bed, because this morning, let's face it, was gorgeous.
Oh, what a great day. Yeah.
So great day to get out. So just have some good gloves and listen, because you'll hear it grinding.
I'm starting to think when you're saying this, Alan, maybe before you just go buy everything, maybe just test the waters.
Go drill a couple of test holes.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, good advice. Not horrifying, but it looks like you had a little more of an annoying week. Well, hey, Alan, hour 1 of Tool Talk Radio is in the can, but we've got a lot coming up here in hour 2 of Tool Talk Radio.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allen.
Coming to you. I thought that sounded quiet, Max. And we'll come back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. We're with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and the tardy Max over there behind the glass.
I guess this show is coming undone.
No
Thank
kidding.
you, Duran Duran.
Live radio, baby. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And we also invite you to check out the posts we've made over at the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. And especially if you're just getting up, you should be aware that today is, I guess, National Garage Sale Day. We were talking a little bit about the institution of the garage sale earlier. But even more importantly, today is Duran Duran Appreciation Day, and I'm really sort of horrified that none of our fellow Duran Duran fans have chimed in on this. I mean,
Actually,
somebody
we had one. It was Angel. She said "hungry like the wolf."
Really? Okay, that's good. I mean, the thing is,
that was their peak. Peak pop song.
I like some. They have some albums that went a little bit more under the radar, and they have some really. They're great musicians. I'm sorry, I don't care what you think of it. They, back in the day, they said, "Oh, they're just a bunch of pretty boys or something." But I'm telling you, man, they are world class musicians, and their music still holds up today, and they're still together. So you got to give them some credit there.
I think though sometimes I confuse in terms of vocals. I'm a Duran Duran with NXS.
Well, you're younger, Max. We'll forgive you for that.
But to be fair, at least I know about this stuff.
Yeah, at least you listen and you appreciate it. So that's out there on the table. And, so it's all fair game today. But also, if you want to talk about tools and home improvement, that's welcome as well. So like we said, get in touch with us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, 901-683-0989. And remember, you can also send pictures. Except for Deuce, he's no longer allowed to send.
Yeah, yes.
No.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, hey, Alan. We don't really have any bumper music or any pomp and circumstance for this, but I did want to share an experience with this. I feel like it was a life lesson. We're constantly learning. Throughout our whole life, we're learning right up until the moment we're on our deathbed.
We're not right.
And so, okay, well, as if you've been listening to Tool Talk for the last few weeks, you know that I just suddenly, just for kicks, I found a great deal on a couch. It's I got a couch that was more or less probably valued around $2,000. I got it on sale for $600, and we're very happy with it. It's really comfortable, looks great. It's exactly what we need, and we had a couch that had been 22 years old, so we felt justified in getting another one. We get our use out of
time,
stuff.
right?
Okay, well, it triggered a whole avalanche. It's like, well, now that chair over there doesn't look good, and now the coffee table needs to. It basically we're redoing our whole living room, and with that in mind, we needed a rug to go underneath everything, just to kind of sit, because we have hardwood floors. Well, Alan, the whole time, literally. So my wife and I went to this place, and it's a store that it's almost too many choices. Literally,
right.
I bet you there was 1,000 rugs in that place. I mean, 1,000 different patterns. It was nuts. So, but in our mind, we were like, well, we were looking around on the internet, and we're like, we kind of like this lighter color. I don't know, whatever. Just that was our idea, to go with a light
option.
color.
Okay.
I bet you we spent 90% of that 3 hours looking at light rugs, and there were 4 or 5 times where we were like, okay, that's the winner right there. We took it out. And then, but I just wanted to kind of the evolution of this 3 hours. So first we would kind of tear back the plastic to look, because it's all rolled up, just to see what the texture was like. Then there were some where they're hanging up on a rack.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, nobody's telling me I can't take this thing off the rack and lay it on the floor. And it's amazing how some rugs looked when it's hanging up versus once you put it on the floor. It like turned into a different rug.
Right.
It looked great hanging up. You lay it on the floor, it looked terrible. It just, I don't know, it changed personality. And then my wife took a break. She had to use the restroom. And in that time, I said, wait a minute. I started visualizing our living room. I said, why are we looking at a light rug? Actually, if we do that, everything we've got going on right now is light. We need something to break up that color.
A little contrast. Okay.
I want a dark rug. In 10 minutes, we found the perfect rug. We changed gears. Like it's like we took a pause or whatever. But I felt, my wife used this word tunnel vision. She said, we were shopping with tunnel vision this whole time. That's probably why it took 3 hours. But something in our subconscious, I think, was resisting all these choices and everything.
Right.
And then suddenly, like I said, I don't know. It's just, I guess what I'm thinking about is just maybe just having a broad mind when you go shopping for something like this. Well, I don't know. I just wanted your thoughts. I'm sure there's a psychological hang up going on here, but, you know.
Oh, well, all right. Basically, this is a battle between what you want and what you need.
Now, wait a minute. Okay, that's interesting.
This is a classic battle, as a matter of fact, and I go through this every week with clients.
Okay.
An owner in Chicago has a certain taste, but they're putting it in a building in Memphis, which has a different taste.
Okay.
And I will pick on this famously for a lunch I went to yesterday.
Yeah.
The owner of the company, the parent company, is in Boston. And Boston, for lunch
old city.
on Fridays, has its traditions. Well, they had sent a suggestion for the luncheon yesterday down from Boston, to which the person running the facility here in Memphis went, "That ain't happening. This is not happening because it's Friday in Memphis."
Right.
At a lunch. Do you know what we do for Fridays for a lunch in Memphis?
Yeah.
We gonna do some fried fish.
Okay.
Boom. And then the joke came up. Somebody goes, "Well, I wonder what they do in New Orleans." And I said, "Well, it's not Friday in New Orleans. Wednesday. Wednesday is red beans and rice day."
Okay, this isn't a food dude segment. Al.
Well, it
Okay,
is
but-
because it's what it is. Your brain is filling in what you went and saw on the internet.
Okay.
Okay, so you went and saw something on Food Network or HTV or the internet or whatever, and now you have tunneled in on what you want.
Right.
However, your back of your mind knows what you need is contrast.
See, I believe in the subconscious. I do believe in the power of your subconscious. If something is nagging at you
Yes.
and there's just that's what it is. It's yelling at you saying, "Hey, dummy, don't do this."
I
yeah.
know you're chasing the laser pointer around the room.
Right.
That's not where we're going to land.
Well,
And eventually you'll take a break or you'll frustrate yourself to the point where you'll stop.
Yeah. You take a breath.
And go get a hot dog at the counter, or walk outside or go to the bathroom or whatever, and you come back.
Right.
And now that little voice in your head goes, "Now that I have your attention."
Well, here's here's the thing, and I would just maybe other people have run into this themselves, but it's like, okay, because my wife loves looking on the internet for ideas first.
Right.
She's a big believer, and she's one of these that always looks at the reviews and all the other. And
Okay.
so she knew
Awesome.
the thickness of the rug. She
Right.
knew whatever. Well, so she found this really cool rug, and it was a beautiful patterned rug. And so that was our jumping off point, and it was a lighter rug. The problem was we have a light-colored couch. We just changed our window treatments. They're light. We have these light features, and I said, wait a minute. If we get a light rug, this thing's going to look like a James Bond's villain headquarters or so. You know what I mean?
go.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I started thinking that the rug that she showed me, it was probably in a living room where there already was a lot of contrast, and that's why
Right.
it popped so well. And so, but it's funny how you don't take certain things into account. You really just got to think of the whole dynamic of what does your room look like. Forget what it looks like, because the most beautiful rug in the world may not look good in your house.
All right.
I don't know.
You run into that a lot when you're painting a room.
Oh, paint colors are exactly that way.
Because I know exactly how this room is going to finish.
Yeah.
All right, so I've already got all the furniture. I do this for a lot of demo rooms for places when we're setting up displays. So I already know what all the interior finish is going to look like. Now it's wall color.
Right.
And I get asked so many times, well, why are you painting it that pale green? That's a terrible color. And it does. If that was the color preeminently in the room, it's terrible. But it's a color that you normally wouldn't see if there was something more interesting. Oh, like the bed and the window treatment and the counters and now when you see the finished product all together,
right.
Individually, each individual piece may not be that hot, but when you put them together, it really has a wow factor.
Kind of makes me think of like Lego bricks and everything. Like when I'm looking at like the pile of bricks and everything, it's like, why would I have all these teal colors versus whatever? Then once I put them together following the instructions.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, because it looks like just a big pile of nothing until That's true. The finished results.
All right. The craziest one, we were building a display once upon a time for a gnome display in a retail store. And they decided we were going to build a tree. And everybody was shocked when I had every color to build this tree but brown. They were just shocked.
It's like, wait a minute. Yeah.
Well, trees are brown. No, trees are not brown.
Yeah. In fact, your mind fills things in, and your mind is a very dynamic and art interpreting tool.
Unlike
and
this show.
Speaking of that, I was trying to do a big segue. Speaking of that, we're going to talk about an institution that fully understands that when we come back on our great moments in building history, and we talk about the Bauhaus.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Are you aware that your bathroom faucet is leaking?
Are you kidding me? I just stuffed a sock in it yesterday. What else do they want me to do?
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Classic rookie mistake. You're supposed to stick a cotton sock in there. It's probably, he had a polyester blend, which will leak. Anyway, welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. Well, you know, the fibers expand with cotton.
Yeah.
I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to go over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there. And if you're just tuning in and if you're just waking up, we would love to hear from you about your thoughts about National Garage Sale Day, and today is also Duran Appreciation Day, and I would sure love to hear from somebody out there as far as what their
favorite song is, and it's also just what is your most interesting find at a garage sale. Please, I want to get someone to say like Action Comics #1.
Well, I'm just going to go out there and tell you this, Max. My favorite Duran. I don't like to pick favorites, but one of my favorites is called The Chauffeur. And I'm telling you, if you listen to that song sounds like it could have been from the 1960s or something. It's sort of a timeless song, and it's a really, really good song. So I don't know. There's lots of good stuff out there. But anyway, it is time to move along. This isn't Duran Talk Radio. So, but anyway, go ahead, Max, hit it.
And now, great moments in building history.
But we're still sticking to the 80s, technically.
Well, yeah. So today we're going to talk about the Bauhaus, which, so Max, correct me if I'm wrong. It's in Germany. The timing of when the Bauhaus became an institution is highly relevant. Mm-hmm. It was built in 1919, and it opened, I think, I can't remember if it's 1926. Basically, it's after the important, relevant part is it was in Germany after World War I.
Right.
That's critically important.
Because back in the day, a lot of what's kind of nice is this is sort of a positive response to the overall like nihilism and negativity that arose from the First World War because it was such a feudal conflict. Mm-hmm. But this was maybe trying to embrace the idea of like beauty and everything, and especially in Germany since the economy was in the tank. like you had to pay like 1,000 Deutschmarks or just like a loaf of bread or whatever.
Yeah, well, let's face it. After World War One, the country was devastated, and also, it's interesting because there's things we don't think about, but like, I don't remember what the font is called, but if you look at old German font, there is a font that you will see very prevalently in World War One and World War II and things, and it was like it was considered their national font. Well, the Bauhaus comes along, and they had a very modernist approach with their aesthetic and everything. But basically, they were trying to create an institution that was all about connecting. I guess they didn't. Okay, so what they were trying to achieve was a melding of teaching and celebrating all of the arts in all of its mediums, but also connecting it to architecture and quality design. Like, it's not enough for you to design a chair that looks cool. It has to function well, and it has to whatever, or a building, or a sculptor or something. But it was a sort of an interesting reaction, and they were going in the complete opposite direction of where Germany had been at that point. Everything was streamlined, and everything. You can't help but notice the influence it had on design in like the 1920s, all the way, in the United States and across the world. Sort of this kind of new look. But there's a lot to talk about, and there was a lot of thought that went into the designing of this school, even down to which position the building should sit, because when the sun comes up and things like that. And, so some interesting stuff to talk about here, Allan.
Well, the first thing we got to dive into was the entire ideas, the doctrine of functionalism.
Okay.
So basically, we're looking at form and function.
Right.
Not against each other, but together.
Yeah.
So if you're designing a school on the principle of being its most functional, then where do you get the best light?
Right.
How do you get the light in? How do we tie the...
What's going to inspire people? You want to make people feel inspired.
You want them inspired, but you also want them working.
Right.
Because the whole idea here was now keep in mind, 1920 or so is the beginning of mass production.
Yeah.
So we got the principles of mass production. So we've kind of got we can make a lot of one thing easily. Right. However, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
All right. So if we're gonna have mass production, it needs to have purpose and function, and it doesn't have to be ugly. So kind of welcome to the ideas that are starting to flow together. It's the birth of architectural modernism.
Yeah, there's chairs. There's a chair that came out of this thing that you see everywhere today, and it came out of the Bauhaus school. I wanted to say, I'm sorry, there was one more thing I need to throw into this mix before we dive too deep. They were also, I'm just going to read this guy's quote, the founder, because Walter Gropius, that's how you pronounce it, right, Max? I don't know. He's the founder. But anyway, he said, "So let us create a new guild of craftsmen free from the divisive class pretensions that attempt to raise an arrogant barrier between craftsmen and artists." Basically, he wanted artists and craftsmen to be together, and he also wanted people of every walk of life. He didn't want just because I can tell you this, growing up, Allan, you probably experienced this. If you were the kid that was really good in shop class, okay, you were the shop class kid. Then there was the kid that was a really good musician or a good artist or something. He was saying, this is all art, and this all needs to be, you need to all treat it all as an art, and all of you are artists, basically, and in all these disciplines are useful. So it was interesting that a lot of people, you had rich and poor, and people of all disciplines coming together and learning, and it's a pretty cool experience. It didn't last long, because then World War II broke out and the Nazis shut it down.
They made it to 33.
But anyway, that's another important feature of the Bauhaus. So. Well,
but the Bauhaus also had a legacy of a lot of the people that were involved in it wound up in other countries.
Well, let's face it.
Well, they wound up
That's
very
where
quickly.
Our space program came from. I mean,
that was
we had the better German scientists than the Russians had, so that's why we got there first. So
you kind of go with that.
Yeah.
But because they were bringing in art and architecture of Now, this is more going to show up over in my world a little bit than the
Okay.
home world. This is going to be over in the commercial side of things because, how to do a balcony.
Yeah.
A balcony wasn't just a cage hanging outside your house. It was an event. It was a reason you went outside. They changed out how to do ceiling fixtures. They actually made the ceiling a feature of rooms.
What do you mean by that? Like,
Well, if you go into some restaurants these days, you'll notice that there's no ceiling.
oh yeah, it's just ducts and ductwork.
And they've got them painted
steel.
and they're on display. They've turned the actual bones of the building into part of the display of the building. And that is a huge part of modernism.
It's interesting you say that because if you think about, you look at old structures, they did everything they could to hide it, especially some of the Gilded Age stuff. Everything was hidden, and they tried to, but they're like, why can't we just have the ducts exposed? And, why not? And it's easy to work on, too.
Well, there's a number of restaurants. I mean, that's their theme. You walk in and you can see you can see the ceiling rafters. You can see the electrical lines. You can see the mounts for the lights of very kind of cool things. I'm trying to think of a huge invention out of the Bauhaus or by one of the Bauhaus people was the Olivetti typewriter.
Ah, okay.
That was another huge because it was a portable typewriter that was rounded in form and shape, so it was very ergonomic. And at this time, keep in mind, typewriters were the new computers of the world. Because now you didn't have
that
to
was
hand
a pretty
write
high-tech
everything.
thing. Yeah.
I mean, that was huge. That was the Olivetti. Trying to think of some of the other products that they really went crazy with. There were a lot of chairs. Oh, and the gooseneck lamp.
Right. Now, we've seen the gooseneck lamp.
There's one sitting on my desk at home right now.
You don't think of, it's, the Bauhaus, it's one of those things, because I got 2 pages of notes here, Alan. It's like, I don't want to get into the minutia, but if you start doing the research, folks, if you get on YouTube and you realize what an influence it has. It's kind of like when we talked about the Chicago World's Fair and all the things that came out of the Bauhaus was really the birthplace of a lot of the things we still see today, and really just changing perceptions and changing. I love the notion of connecting. If you're a carpenter, you're just as much of an artist as a painter or something like that. And connecting all these disciplines and getting people to work together. And because also the carpenter has some useful knowledge about, okay, well, like you said, you built this chair. It looks beautiful, but this is why it's not going to work. Let me show you how to improve the strength and the function of this chair. And so you use the word function and form. This is a perfect that's what they were all about there. And just kind of rethinking, art and everything. So,
Well, I mean, it even goes so far as to rethink a window.
exactly.
How about let's put the design of the window on display and have windows that mechanically open. You can walk over and have it part of the decor of the window on how to crank it open and how to close it.
Right.
And that is still used throughout the world today by any number of high-end window companies.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Windows, Alan, because there were also some failures. Okay, the Bauhaus institution had a lot of great features. However, the actual building itself had a few shortcomings, and we're going to talk about that when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Dying tickles.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
You're really overusing that one, Max. I mean, you just can't help yourself.
He's my spirit animal.
There's more out there than Ralph Wiggum sound bites. Anyway, welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We've got a few good texts on the line, Max. We'll queue those up in just a minute. So if you've texted in, well, there's still time to join in that lineup. You can send us your texts and pictures. I think we've got a couple that have sent us some pictures, and we're going to get to those momentarily. We're also going to circle back in a moment and continue our conversation about the Bauhaus, which is it's a art. I guess we're calling it a college of art, but it's also architecture. It's a bigger institution than maybe that, and that's part of our Great Moments in Building History discussion. Before we do that, though, we definitely want to talk about our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling.
What does a Bauhaus roof look like for Jay Hill?
I don't know if Jay Hill would approve, because a lot of the Bauhaus roofs, I think they're flat and kind of, I don't know. They seem problematic to me, Allan. I don't know. But at least the roof was flat at the
well,
the
they would
college
appreciate a good roofing system.
They would need the roofing system over there. So, but I think Jay would definitely appreciate their aesthetic and everything. But Jay is all about the exterior protection of your home from top to bottom, from roofing to gutters to siding to windows. It all works together harmoniously, or it should, at least if you have a competent expert like Jay Hill. Jay Hill also is always happy to get involved in an interesting remodeling project. I will use that word because that's pretty much what he told me. He likes interesting remodeling, but we always lean heavily in our pitch here about his roofing expertise because, for one thing, he's a GAF Master Elite Installer. He's always 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau. He is one of the highest rated roofers in this region. I mean, just go look him up. He's right up there at the top, and there's a reason for that. Jay has created a great business culture, and he just brings a certain sometimes there's people that they just have a different energy level and a certain different outlook on life, and it makes them very dynamic and optimistic when you get involved with the project with them. But we loved Jay because also he brings that to the table, but also because he is a former insurance agent, and one of the reason that's important is because the outside of your home is constantly under assault from the elements, from trees falling on your home, everything. And sometimes you have damage to your home that's not easily detected by the average homeowner, and you need an expert. And if it is damage that's covered by your homeowner's insurance, well, that's a process to navigate, and you need a competent expert to help you navigate that process, which is why Jay should be the first person you call before you call your insurance company. He'll meet with you. The consultation is free, and he will let you know if you have a path forward. And if you do, it's going to save you thousands of dollars, like it saved Allan and I. Allan and I both have new roofs thanks to Jay Hill. We love the business culture. They create roofing systems that have lifetime transferable warranties. He's also got great financing at his disposal. It's very easy, and it's like I said, if you're concerned about the exterior protection of your home, call Jay. He should be the first person you call. You can get in touch with him directly at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. So, Allan, before the break, we were talking about the Bauhaus, which really came about at an interesting point in history. It came about, let's face it, Germans wanted a change. We're talking literally right after World War I. Their country was devastated. I always feel sorry for the average citizen in a lot of these situations. They don't want to go to war. Anyway, whatever. And but Walter Gropius, he founded the Bauhaus. He really thought that a good way to help their country move forward and just to improve things was to create basically, for lack of a better term, an art college mixed with architecture. The Bauhaus is a very unique institution, but with that in mind, some of the design elements were very well thought out. For example, Allan, he wanted the dorm rooms, because there were students there that lived there year round. He wanted the dorm rooms to face east so that the sun woke them up every morning.
Yep.
Well, that's something to think about, because let's face it, if you're a 18 or 20-something-year-old, you don't want to get up early. Well, when the sun's beating in your room, that's a good way to get you up. He had balconies there because he thought balconies were inspiring. So he wanted the students to be able to get up, step out onto the balcony, see the sunrise, and be ready to take on the day. But he was also a big believer in connecting the outside with the inside, which is why if you look at the Bauhaus, folks, you're going to see in all of the work areas, like where you had the wood shop or where you had the painting area or something, they had floor to ceiling windows, and it really it makes for a beautiful transition. Also at night, it looked really cool when they turned all the lights on, and you felt if you were outside looking in or vice versa. However, Alan, in the summer, apparently, there were also some faults with this. Floor-to-ceiling windows when it's August and the sun's beating in you.
Little tough.
They said it became intolerable after a while, especially in like if you're in the woodworking shop or something. So they had to fix that.
Well, that actually led to one of their better contributions was the fact that they went back and retrofitted them as mechanical windows so that they could crank them open and let fresh air in.
Yeah, you think they would have maybe thought of that out of the gate.
Well,
because they were hanging up these not canvas, but they were hanging up some window treatments. But then, of course, that defeats the whole purpose of
having the big, beautiful windows.
Right. So maybe in retrospect, you point it. Now, let me ask you this, Alan. What would be the optimal? Because this is the days before air conditioning. I feel like if you pointed it, I don't know, south, would that be the way to go? Or I guess point the windows in a direction where you're getting some residual sunlight, but you're not getting it just beating in the windows. I don't know.
A lot would depend upon the actual airflow pattern of that area.
Oh,
because remember,
good.
you're in a mountainous area with Germany. You're not flat down on the water where the air is going to come in one direction. So the biggest design feature for all of these buildings was humidity and air control.
Right.
So you want the air to move through, so they had to go back and retrofit because they accidentally built basically a greenhouse.
Okay, this is interesting. It's always interesting what themes emerge because when I was researching this, we talked earlier about tunnel vision shopping.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Walter Gropius, great man, obviously very influential, and he had great ideas. I think he might have had a little tunnel vision when it came to his ideas about the aesthetics of the Bauhaus, because maybe he didn't think of the practical thing of like airflow and things like that. Because, how many structures have we talked about in the past, even going back thousands of years, where the Egyptians they figured out airflow millennia ago? It's like, okay, well, if you do this, you can keep this place cool even when it's 120 degrees outside or something. So I think maybe he fell in love with some of his ideas aesthetically, but just didn't think of the practical applications.
And he should have looked at a little bit more west, actually, because if you remember our good old buddy Antony Gaudi a little earlier on, actually kind of had that in mind. If you remember his apartment complexes where they haven't had to had AC ever since he built them because of the way the airflow worked.
Right. Yeah, some people understood that part of it.
Well, to be fair, Spain was a little bit more, let's just say, agreeable when it comes to temperatures than Germany is.
Yeah. I will say this, though. We always talk about German. It seems like the Germans have every German person I've ever met, they have a certain work ethic. They have an appreciation for craftsmanship. And I think I love what his Walter Gropius also. I'm just going to tell you, he loved America. He was a big fan of the way we did things in the United States. But I like his idea of connecting the arts and architecture and breaking down barriers between these disciplines and making everybody realize they're an artist, but also your art has to function. One other thing I thought that I appreciated about Walter Gropius was he was a big believer in the importance of rest and relaxation to foster creativity. I feel like that's you got to turn your brain off sometimes. It doesn't make you more creative because you worked 15 hours a day. Sometimes you might do better work if you go take a boat ride or go watch the sunset and then work 6 hours or something. You know what I mean? It's like, you're a writer, Alan. You know what that's like. Your brain can lock up.
I will tell you that just like your tools, seriously, there is a sustainable rate that you can operate at for hours and hours and hours. And then there's a peak rate that you get a lot done, but you're going to burn out a lot faster.
Yeah.
So a lot really comes down to pacing and design. And when it came to the actual design of the Bauhaus, I think you're right. I think he was in love with certain ideas, but Germany's a lot colder a lot longer than it is hot.
Well, it got cold in there too. It was not well insulated.
Yeah, well, there was.
You're either freezing or roasting in there. So
sometimes you don't know something's a good idea or bad idea until you try the idea.
Right. Well, they
And
got
then
it
you
figured
gotta
out
adapt.
today. Today, it's very comfortable to work
Yes.
in there. But really, the more interesting thing about the Bauhaus too is just the huge impact it had on our culture and on the world, and just design aesthetic and everything. I'm telling you, folks, if you go down that rabbit hole, you're going to see the influence from Bauhaus design everywhere, even today, man.
You're going to see a lot of their designs at IKEA.
Oh yeah,
I got news for you. You really are. You're going to see the tables, the layouts, the aesthetic.
yeah.
You're going to see a lot of their influence.
Absolutely. So great moments in building history, the Bauhaus. Check it out, folks. And while you're over there, check out the band Bauhaus with the great Peter Murphy in front. All right, we've got some good text to get to, and then we've got our must-have item of the week. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
This is glue. Strong stuff.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Yep, and you want it to be strong. Well, not always. Sometimes you want your glue to fail. And we won't get into that. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And we also invite you to go over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there. All right, well, Max, you said we have some people that have been chiming in. So, is your mic on? Max has been a little off with his mic. All right, so who do we got up there?
Well, let's first start with our buddy Norman.
Okay.
From last week. No, I'm just kidding. But he's got one this week this time.
So he didn't wait till the last second. Okay.
No, not this time. Best garage sale score of all time. Over 24 lathe tools, handmade, serious tools, handles on them that are like 10 inches long.
Oh my gosh. I am burning with jealousy.
Yeah, as we both go into envy.
I wonder if he's got time to tell us how much he paid for those.
I'm not sure how much he paid for them, but he's trying to get pictures of them.
Norman,
for us.
how much did you pay for those? Send those in. I want to know, because Allan, one good knife for a lathe, I mean, you could spend $100 on a really good one.
Easy.
Oh my gosh, I could use that. And I need a new set of knives. So he got 10 of those at a garage sale.
He got like a dozen.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, Norman, yeah, pictures would be appreciated, because I think there's a certain subculture of woodworkers that are really lathe enthusiasts, and there's something very addictive about working on the lathe. It's cool. It can be frustrating. It's like golf. It's
zen.
either the most zen thing, or you want to throw it through the window. So, all right, that's a pretty good one, Norman. What
Agent
else?
732, of course, already had his contributions about garage sale with the King George pennies. But what's funny, too, is kind of going back to IKEA, like you were saying, Allan, with Bauhaus. He was saying IKEA, and going back to your discussion, by the way, Joe, with regards to choosing a rug with your wife, IKEA has rugs that are just cheap enough that you don't mind tossing it in the garbage if it doesn't work.
Okay, well, that's one way to put. Well, no, I think in general, rugs are one of those things where it's like, okay, you might spend a couple $100, maybe even $300 or $400, but it's not a be all and end all. So you don't. It's not the same level of commitment as buying like a refrigerator or something.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And we got two more textures here.
Okay.
First off, we have David. He actually sent pictures.
Okay.
He was talking about this ladder desk that he just finished for his granddaughter, which is pretty cool.
Wait, he built this?
Yep.
Very cool. Okay, well, we'll get those up, David, probably after the show, and we'll have those for next week. But
he also said,
wait, a ladder desk?
A ladder desk.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to envision what that looks like, Allan. I've seen ladder shelves and things like that. So, all right, cool.
And
David, we always salute everybody doing something on their own.
And he also said for his first off, he said for his money for his favorite Duran Duran song would have to be The Reflex.
The Reflex is a fun song. Yep. I wonder if he likes the live version or the album version. So let us know, David. But yeah.
And then he also said too, his best garage sale find was a Tiger Oak Hall table. Paid $15, later appraised for $12.50.
tiger oak. Okay, that's that real where the grain is real defined.
Yeah.
It can, I like tiger oak, but it's very unpredictable when you put that stain on, Allan. So,
Well, that's why he got a good table.
Okay, very
Then
cool.
last but not least, our good old buddy Michael Boomerang.
Of course. Yeah.
So a few years ago, my wife. Oh, by the way, Norman said he spent $35.
Okay, Norman, I'm officially very jealous of $35 for 12. Allan,
that's a bargain.
That's like it's a $500 or eight. Okay, whatever.
Andy
Good for
posted
you, Norman.
Andy posted a few pictures. I'm not able to see the metal bits of it just yet, but maybe he's texting in more. But anyways,
good
back
for
to
you,
Michael.
Norman.
Back to
Okay.
Boomerang.
Yeah.
So a few years ago, my wife and I were remodeling our house, and we went to a few stores and not liking the selection of tiles, either because of price or color. So we went to fill in the blank for a big box store. We found this wood look tile that was a great price and color, and to our surprise, it matched any paint we were looking for at our four different. Each room had a different color. If the paint was a little darker, the tile looked darker. If the paint was a little darker, the tile looked lighter. If the paint looked a little lighter, the tile looked darker, which added the contrast we needed for the rooms.
So
Awesome.
it worked. So, but yeah,
Big score.
It's funny too. I'm sure it had to do with what the windows were like in that room and the light source and everything. But yeah, Michael, I do feel your pain. Shopping for tile can be excruciating because it's a more permanent commitment than a rug. Let's face it. I mean, that's a lot of labor putting that down, and picking the right one. And there's almost too many choices. That's what I think. That's what I think holds us up today. I mean, we have way too many things to choose from. It seems to me, looking at homes that were built in my era, Allan, like in the 50s, it seems like they had like 5 tile colors, and that was about it. They had pink, yellow.
They had more than that.
Black, white. That's all I ever see these days.
But
So
yeah,
it's like
you could tell the ones that had the better price. Yeah.
hunter green, all these weird things. So, well, guys, we appreciate that. That's what we look for on our text line. Not horrifying and shocking.
Yes, the deuce.
No, the deuce has his place too. But I'm really eager to see this ladder table. I can't really picture what that looks like.
Ladder
And
bed.
Norman texted in pictures of the bits themselves. They look kind of like old. I was telling Norman they look a little bit like old dentistry tools or torture devices.
Well, these are bigger, Max. These are if a dentist is using a lathe knife with a 10-inch handle, I'd get out of there pretty quick.
It's not if, it's was.
Okay. Well, some pretty good text today, so that's we appreciate hearing from everybody on that. But let's shift gears, Allan. So time to get to our must-have item of the week, and of course, there's nothing. Well, we don't have the cameras on, Max. We don't have the cameras on right now, but I guess this is going to be easy to describe. But tell people what I'm holding up.
You are holding up you're holding up a small version of a bungee cord with the amazing little hook at the end to hold it in place.
It's
a little metal hook.
Yeah, it's a 10-inch mini bungee cord. Yep. And actually, if you check out our Facebook post, it's a 20-pack. I got it for $8.
Right.
Okay, well, these little bungee cords, I mean, we all know what a bungee cord is, and folks, don't ever underestimate them. If you're strapping something to the roof of your car and you pull it back and that thing isn't secured right, it'll
You're going to
hurt.
become America's Next Funniest Home Videos.
No, you're going to be, it can hurt. It can take out an eye. Those things are lots of force. But Allan, these little guys, for one thing, sometimes you don't need a full bungee cord. Sometimes you just need to secure something temporarily, or maybe you just need to wrap something. But I'm just going to say, I think this I don't see it anywhere. I'm looking on this pack. I don't see anything about a warning label about these. If you pull it back, because folks, bungee cords generally have like a kind of a rubber coated hook on the end, or at least it's protected, or a plastic hook. Well, Allan, this is just a thin piece of like 1/8-inch metal that they bent around into the shape of a hook. It's not unlike a fishing hook.
Yeah.
And when you pull it back and you're stretching it, this thing can pierce your thumb or whatever.
The funniest scene I ever had was an assistant of mine walking by where somebody was undoing those, and one hook was still on the pallet and one hook snagged their clothing. And they made it about...
We know it's going to win.
They made it about 2 more feet, and then they were backing up because it was just like, So it was a weird feeling for them because it wasn't like somebody grabbed you. It just was increased resistance to going forward.
Oh, yeah. But I love bungee cord. Bungees, and there's just, and they come in all shapes and sizes. This little guy is very useful for just that perfect application where, for one thing, it's got a small hook, so it'll fit into tight areas. But
well, the one thing that, all right, here's kind of the mind-blowing idea about that. You got how many of those for less than $10?
I got 20 pack for $8.
All right, so you got $8 there. Think about that. That tool 100 years ago was utterly impossible.
Because of the flexible cable and all that?
Well, because of the wrap, the manufacturing, the content that it's made of. Basically, that is a modern convenience that somehow we survived without forever. And today, we can't think of, getting a load down the street without hooking it together and keeping it from falling apart.
That's true.
So that tool 100 years ago was literally impossible.
Yeah. I mean, how many things like that do we have? It's true. We're spoiled rotten. We have it easier than any generation has ever hit. I don't care what anybody says.
We are
Quit
blessed.
whining. We got it made. So
we got a lot of good stuff.
Okay. Including Tool Talk Radio. I have to say, Allan, it was a pretty good, pretty interesting show today. I really wish we could have unpacked more about the Bauhaus, but folks, that's your own homework assignment. Get on YouTube and learn more about that. So, Allan, we got about 30 seconds. What's going on with Dark Oak Media this week? So,
well, of course, around the world, I love finding out where people are listening to ToolTalkRadio.com at. So it's been a lot of fun. We're literally around the world, Joe.
Okay. Well, next week, if you're listening from around the world, we want to hear from you. But,
absolutely.
Not right now because it's time to get out of here. So on behalf of my buddy, Allan Gilbreth, and our pal Max over there behind the glass, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening to Tool Talk Radio, and we'll see you next week.